Ron and Ellen Deari here again in the broadcast studios. We're having some technical difficulties, but I think we've got them squared away. Good to be with you again. And as we continue our study in Psalms, and as I've been mentioning, well, since we began this series, this video series, is how the world keeps changing, and it's almost not just weekly, but day by day, things are changing and different, and all the stuff. I'm not here to go into all the stuff, but it just reaffirms and reassures to me more and more each day. Each time I sit in front of this camera and greet you with the greetings that I've been using out of the Bible and Paul's greetings, and it just becomes, to me, more heartfelt that this grace to you and peace from God our Father. And boy, I've been stretched these past week or so, and we've had situations with our pastor's health and church and not meeting and decisions and all the stuff that goes with it. And it's so easy to get caught up in that stuff to where you lose focus. And coming back to Psalm 63 and David, and it just helps me to, this is reality. The world is real, but God is the one who is going to walk me through this world, and you as well. And so, as we begin our study here, part 4 of Psalm 63, if you recall last week, it was David again, and he was, in verse 8, he was making this statement. He was making this, I know this is what's going on, kind of a statement, that my soul follows close behind you, and your right hand upholds me. And we're going to stop right there, and hopefully we'll get further than one verse. But this whole idea of David speaking to God, your right hand upholds me. What an incredible thing to think about. I would encourage you to look at this after we're done here. Think about what that means, because David wasn't just talking about something that did not have a reality. The reality is he sensed. I don't think he physically felt. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not discounting anything. But he was so close with God that he sensed his hand on him. And this was early in David's life as a man. I don't know if he was king, maybe soon to be king in that time frame. And he was understanding this. God has his hand on him. And we see later on, we've studied last spring, or I forget when it was, Psalm 139, and where David said, and he had talked about the wonder of understanding that God had hedged him behind and before. And he says, in verse 10, and laid your hand upon me. He says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. I cannot attain. How can we grasp that? How can we? And maybe this is a reality check for us to say we believe in God, because it's reality. It's not a pie in the skies, supernatural woo type of thing. If God is who he says he is, and I believe he is, and the Bible makes that clear, there's a reality, a physical, tangible, as well as a spiritual reality. And I sense that wonder and awe and understanding coming to David there. And even Psalm 139. Well, that was earlier. That was verse 5, where he had hedged him and laid his hand on him. In verse 10, he goes on, he says, even there, your hand shall lead me. And again, here's this, and your right hand shall hold me. Wow. I thought about, what would that, because I've sensed, felt God's presence, but I've never like David's talking about. And what it brought to my mind, and maybe what hopefully yours as well, is that I want that closeness. I don't want to just know him in a distant way, in a theoretical way. I want that closeness. And our souls long for that, whether we understand that or not. That's that God-shaped place in us that only he can fill. And we fill it with other things and we become distracted, and even as Christians. And we even get a little fearful when God gets too close. And why is that? It's because God is light. And when we're a little fearful when he gets too close, it's because we want to hang on to some of that darkness, our flesh and spirit, that battle that it just goes on till the day we're no longer in this body of flesh. Whatever method God chooses for that to happen, it's a battle and it's going to be there. Darkness, even little bits of it, do not like the light. I was thinking about that today and saying, just a little bit of light puts the darkness to flight. Overwhelming darkness cannot put out just a little bit of light. Oh, wow. 1 John chapter 1, verses 5 through 7. John talks about this. It says that this is the message that we have heard from him and declare to you, that God is light, and in him there's no darkness at all. If we say we have fellowship with him and we walk in darkness, it calls it very clearly, we lie and do not practice the truth. But if we walk in his light, the light, we have fellowship with one another. And here's the incredible part. And we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanses us from all sin. So I want to be in that light. My battle is staying in that light, walking in that light, walking in that close relationship with him. And I've been talking about that in my study in Romans on Wednesday nights that we suspended for the time being. And even in part of the message that I was privileged to give last Sunday at church, and this thing of it's Romans chapter 8 verse 15, where we're told that God has not given us a spirit of bondage, but not a spirit of bondage to fear, but a spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. And then again in Galatians chapter 4 verses 4 through 7, it reiterates that thing of Abba, Father, that close, intimate relationship. And I want that. And I sense that in David, that even as a younger man and dealing with all those challenges and struggles, that when he experienced that, his spirit wanted more. It was thirsty for more. It talks about that in the first part of Psalm 63. And so I think I'm starting to maybe run a little bit long, but I want to tie this together a little bit and maybe give us food for thought. That it is time for God's people to start taking this stuff maybe a little more seriously in the world and times that we live in. And again, we're looking at making decisions at Bethany about services and how we do things and all the different things. And there will be no service this Sunday at Bethany. We've made that decision. And there will be a live stream video. So if there should be a link on Facebook, Bethany's Facebook page, and there should also be a place where you can just click on and live stream directly off our webpage as well. And I would encourage you to do that. And Jeff Douglas will be presenting a message that he feels God has laid on his heart. And so church is different nowadays. Sunday school is different. But God God isn't. And we want to continue to walk with him and to serve him. So I would say God bless, take care, and with his help and his being willing, we will see you next week.